The Nightbeat starts right now.
A home in the southeast part of the county, a total loss after being consumed by flames earlier this evening. Firefighters called out to the Palm Park Boulevard and Alita, just off of Highway 181, shortly after 7 p.m., where they found a mobile home fully engulfed. We're told that the fire also affected a neighboring structure where a separate family was living. That building suffered significant damage.
Fire crews tell us no one was harmed, though they're still searching for some of the family's pets, which were inside at the time. That mobile home is located right next to the fireworks stand that you just saw, which we're told was not affected by these flames. The cause is still under investigation.
Meanwhile, police say he shot someone before engaging in a standoff with officers for 7 hours. Tonight, 37-year-old Valdemar Martinez is in the Bexar County Jail.
The night team's Daphne Gray was on the scene all afternoon and was there when that long standoff finally ended.
Instead of blowing kisses to his mother, who drove 3 hours to see her son at the request of San Antonio police, this man, 37-year-old Valdemar Martinez, decided to blow kisses at our cameras as he was being arrested. His arrest coming at the end of a 7-hour standoff with police.
Yes, we have the cops out here a lot, but never nothing like this.
San Antonio police say it all started after Martinez allegedly shot another man in the bottom. They tracked him down at a home on Diamondback Trail, which is just a street over from Elk Hunter Trail where the shooting happened. Since 10:30 this morning, neighbors say they heard police pleading with Martinez to come out of the home. Martinez's mother, who came from Houston, also tried convincing him, but bystanders say it was this command that forced his hand.
Are you a coward or are you going to come out? And then he came out and they started yelling at him to get down.
That was right before our live shot for the news at 5:30, where we were able to capture officers running across backyards and through a side fence. Those officers ultimately catching Martinez, who was placed in an ambulance followed by a patrol unit.
Just stop while you're ahead. Don't ruin your life. Don't ruin your life. Just stop.
Now, authorities say Martinez had 2 warrants for aggravated assault and is being interviewed before being formally charged. Daphne Gray, KSAT 12 News.
Our Metro Health Department does want to remind everyone it is an Ozone Action Day tomorrow. So older members of our population, younger, extremely young members of our population, and certainly those with respiratory issues are urged to stay home because of the ozone action, and certainly that will also help address other issues that are happening right now with the COVID-19 response.
During tonight's COVID-19 daily briefing, Mayor Ron Nirenberg reminding everyone tomorrow has been declared an Ozone Action Day. These days are typically observed during summer months when weather, in this case air pollution, can cause or greatly affect existing health conditions. As the mayor just said, those with pre-existing respiratory conditions, the elderly and the very young are encouraged to stay home tomorrow. Once again, tonight, Metro Health had no new COVID-19 numbers to report due to their data team taking the weekend off. So all those updated numbers from this weekend are expected to be revealed during tomorrow's briefing.
Also at that briefing, Bexar County Commissioner Justin Rodriguez announcing a partnership between the city and the county to provide essential item bags for small businesses. The new program allows business owners to pick up a free 1-week supply of safety items, including personal protective equipment, touchless thermometers, gloves, face masks, and plexiglass barriers if they are needed. Now, this is strictly for businesses with less than 25 employees. Registration for the bags can be completed on either the city or county websites. We'll provide a link to those at KSAT.com.
Bridging the gap. City leaders say they're working to make sure marginalized populations know they haven't been forgotten amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, among those populations, the city's homeless, a group which we're told has been steadily increasing in the past few months.
The night team's Stephen Cavazos explains the challenges the city's facing.
It's rough. You can't get a bath, no water.
A struggle some who live on the streets face. This man says he hasn't had a bath in the last few months. He and his friend asked us not to show their faces or their names.
People hide, they hide and stuff. They don't want to be found. They don't want to be seen.
District 1 Councilman Roberto Trevino says there has been a 7% increase in the homeless population since the last point in time count, which happened at the beginning of the year. But he believes there could be more. He says as Haven for Hope follows CDC guidelines, which make sure that there's social distancing in place, it's restricted the amount of people they could accept that are coming in off the streets.
It's very difficult to know what's going on with them and their health.
Trevino says there has been a spike in encampments in certain areas around the city, including along busy freeways. He says the city is working to reach out to homeless groups by establishing hubs in certain areas. Those hubs provide health and sanitation kits and health screenings. But he says it's no easy task, given many prefer to stay hidden.
People simply hide and go into the shadows rather than go and accept services that we can provide them.
The city has not reported any COVID-19 cases among the homeless population, but Trevino says that doesn't mean they aren't out there.
To say that there's no reported cases is one thing. To say that there's no cases is another.
But these two men say they aren't afraid of COVID-19. Instead, they worry about letting their guard down.
I'm worried more about people than I am a virus.
Now, Trevino says that anytime that there is a new encampment that pops up, the city's solid waste and management does have to go in and clean those areas. Now, again, we do want to reiterate that the city has not reported any cases of COVID-19 at any of the homeless shelters. However, they said if someone does begin to show symptoms, that person is isolated and then tested. Tim, Courtney?
Stephen Cavazos reporting live. Thank you. We wanted to make a correction to a story we brought you yesterday. We showed you the incorrect mugshot for a man charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We do apologize for the error. This is the correct mugshot for Matthew Wilson. Investigators say he is accused of beating a pregnant woman and threatening to stab her. Police say the assault went on for 3 days.
Theft of a vehicle and kidnapping. A man is facing both of those charges after police say he stole a car with a baby inside of it around 1 this morning. It happened at a store on Evers Road in Glen Ridge. Police say the mother left her 2-month-old baby in the back seat with the engine running while she went inside the store. That's when they say 36-year-old Jonathan Rivas Arias jumped in and drove off. Police found the car an hour later on Fredericksburg Road with the baby still in the back seat. Rivas Arias was later arrested on Callahan Road, not far from Fredericksburg Road.
Taking a look around Texas tonight, outrage in Houston after the stabbing of an elderly woman led to a deadly officer-involved shooting yesterday morning. Houston police say that suspect was soliciting money and threatening people with a knife outside of a grocery store. The suspect later moving to a Walgreens where he was seen stabbing an 80-year-old woman in the chest before getting in her car and trying to start it. That's when a bystander flagged down an officer.
After 15 maybe seconds, gets out and he immediately starts going towards the officer with the knife. The officer discharged 2 rounds, striking the suspect. What is kind of makes me angry is that this suspect didn't just stab an 80-year-old woman. He then goes down and starts rifling through her stuff and then tries to steal her car.
The woman later died from her injuries at a hospital. The suspect died at the scene.
Also in Houston, a 5-year-old child and a 25-year-old woman are now dead after drowning yesterday afternoon. Houston police say the two were found in a swimming pool at the home on the northwest side of the city. Police say the child was in the pool having trouble, then the woman jumped in to save that child. They were later taken to the hospital where they were both pronounced dead. Neighbors said the home is owned by Carl Crawford, a former MLB player and owner of the Houston record label 1501 Certified Entertainment.
Still warm out there tonight as we take a look outside with live cam, but it was a nice day, plenty of sunshine. Nice and toasty this afternoon, though. We saw high temperatures climb into the 90s across much of South Texas here in San Antonio. Our high temperature today, 93 degrees, several ticks above average for this time of the year, but at least we stayed away from that record high of 97 set back in 2013. It was even hotter off to the west. Del Rio, you made it up to 96 today. It was 94 down in Cotulla and 90 degrees in Carrizo Springs. We're going to see very similar numbers tomorrow and even higher temperature numbers as we get into Tuesday. So if you liked the heat today, I've got good news for you. You'll really like the next few days. We'll talk about your full planning forecast, more about that air quality issue that we'll see tomorrow coming up in a few minutes as well. Courtney.
Thanks, Katie. Well, if you are sick of working out outside and you want to get into a gym, this is a good idea. Happening tomorrow after a 2-month hiatus, many gyms across the state will reopen their doors after being ordered to close because of the pandemic.
Yeah, with more than 25 locations here in San Antonio, Gold's Gym serves nearly 100,000 people. Alicia Barrera visited their Bulverde location for a closer look at what you can expect during your next visit.
When you come in to work out, you'll see what Gold's Gym and others have been working to, changing many of their procedures to adapt to state rules.
Gold's Gym is doing their best to get rid of high contact areas, so once you walk in, use your foot, not your hands, for the newly installed step-in pools. One of the biggest questions when you come to Gold's Gym is, will you be required to wear masks or gloves. We spoke to Justin Goddery. He's the Senior VP of Operations for Gold Gyms, and he helped clarify.
Gloves and masks are not required for our members, but highly recommended. We will be requiring masks and gloves for all of our team members as an extra safety precaution.
No handling of cash, new hand sanitizer stations, closed water fountains, and added sanitizing rotations will help limit the spread of germs at all Gold's Gym locations.
So we have zone cleanings that are happening all throughout the day, every hour on the hour. We also have an additional third-party commercial cleaning company that comes in overnight.
To ensure that all members are on the same page, they'll be required to sign a new code of conduct ahead of their workout. That'll be available online or at the front desk.
We will have a daily intermission that goes from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And that's, again, to allow us to restock all of our supplies and conduct a deep cleaning with our team members. And then we've also marked off some of the different weight equipments to make sure, again, that we have a minimum of 6 feet distancing.
Gold's Gym says that although amenities such as pools, saunas, showers, and locker rooms are currently closed, they do plan to open them in phases and in accordance to state and local orders. Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News.
Governor Greg Abbott expected to further address the reopening of the state during a briefing tomorrow afternoon. We'll be bringing you that broadcast live at 2 p.m. right here on KSAT 12 and on KSAT.com. You can also find the most important updates from the briefing during our newscast at 5, 6, 9 and right here on the Nightbeat.
Still to come on the Nightbeat, the president's firing of the inspector general now under investigation. Why some leaders are calling it unlawful. Plus, a massive explosion rocks downtown Los Angeles and injures nearly a dozen firefighters. The latest details from that scene.
And another state declares its intentions to ease restrictions amid the pandemic. The latest on how COVID-19 is affecting the rest of the country.
Never miss a story. Watch live or when you want. San Antonio's latest news and weather. Streaming free on KSAT TV.
Massachusetts set to become the 49th state to start easing restrictions as states look to get their economies up and running again. This as several states see an increase in the number of cases and many are working to increase testing. Here's ABC's Chuck Sievertson with the details.
Thousands of Americans flooding to the nation's beaches and parks as states begin to reopen.
We're never going to have the old normal. We'll have a new normal.
With many ignoring social distancing, the mayor of New York vowing to crack down.
If we have to shut places down, we will.
Some bars and restaurants seeing large crowds as restrictions are eased, but they have been hard hit by the pandemic. Restaurant owners now telling researchers if this crisis lasts 6 months, they have about a 15% chance of survival. 8 states now seeing a rise in cases, according to a New York Times analysis, including Texas, which is looking to lift even more restrictions. But the state had more than 700 new cases reported near Amarillo on Saturday, many stemming from meatpacking plants. Texas now testing more than 693,000 people out of a population of nearly 29 million. On Monday, Massachusetts will become the 49th state to start reopening, where officials are now working to boost testing to 45,000 a day by the end of July. And in New York, where they've conducted more than 1.4 million tests, Governor Cuomo demonstrating how simple the process is.
That is the whole test. I'm not in pain. I'm not in discomfort.
Tomorrow, Florida will reopen gyms, expand restaurant capacity, and allow vacation rentals, but not everyone can visit.
If you tell me you're going to rent them out to people from New York City, I'm probably not going to approve that.
Businesses adapting to the new normal, which for many involves safety barriers and social distancing. At Darlington Raceway in South Carolina, NASCAR returning. However, there were no spectators in the stands. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News, New York.
You know, we talked about this earlier at 5:30. Yeah. It's been such a weird few months that we almost forgot it was already summer-like weather. The heat hit, and I just couldn't believe it was already this time.
It's almost June. It's like, where did it all go?
I know. Here we are. Yes.
It went to Netflix.
Yes, a lot of binging.
Exactly. Yes, it was nice and toasty out there today, and we're going to stay hot as we start the new work week. Not only that, but humidity will be starting to pick back up today as well. You may have noticed that So while it was hot out there today, it wasn't overly humid. The humidity wasn't oppressive. Now, as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you see those green numbers there. Those are our dew point numbers. As those numbers start to get into the 70s, that's when it's really going to start to feel oppressively humid out there. So we do have a couple more days where it won't be so bad, but it will be staying hot. 94, your forecast high temperature tomorrow, 96 on Tuesday. Why this heat? Well, we've got a ridge of high pressure building in over Texas as we speak tonight. This not only keeps us rain free, but typically we see our temperatures trend above average. When these ridges settle in over Texas, this is a pretty summer-like pattern that we'll be in for the next couple of days. The difference, though, between what happens in the middle of the summer, where we have those triple-digit heat streaks, this upper-level high pressure or this ridge is not going to hang around for a prolonged period of time just yet. It's this upper-level high pressure, the sunshine, the hot air settling in that will also play a part in why we're going to have air quality issues tomorrow. This will be for the San Antonio metro area, Bexar County, and all the counties surrounding Bexar County. Notice they're dealing with the same thing off closer to the Houston area. So the more densely populated areas where we have higher levels of ground level ozone, that's going to contribute to some less than ideal air quality tomorrow. And the reason for the less than ideal air quality will be because of higher levels of ground level ozone. So tomorrow's air quality considered unhealthy for sensitive groups. We talked about this earlier in the newscast. Those sensitive groups include the elderly, the very young, and also those with respiratory conditions like asthma. If you need some more information, I wrote up an article this evening. It's on KSAT.com. You can find it on the weather page. A lot more information there regarding air quality. So again, if you fall into one of those groups, you're encouraged to limit your time outside tomorrow, especially in the afternoon when it will be hottest. Out there tonight, mostly clear skies. Pleasant. I stepped outside about a half hour ago. It's warm, but it's not too bad, again, because our dew points are in the low 60s. That's where it's okay. We're not doing too bad. East-southeast winds, what we'll notice tomorrow, especially into Tuesday, our wind direction will become southerly. That's what pulls in the moisture from the Gulf, and then we'll be sitting in that oppressive humidity by the middle of the week. It's still awfully warm off to the west, still 85 in Del Rio, 79 in Carrizo Springs, 80 in Cotulla. But with our dew points again on the manageable side for most of us, it doesn't feel too bad. Notice though, down closer to the coast, we've got dew points in the upper 60s and low 70s. So here's how your dew points will be changing over the next few days. Again, tomorrow, not too bad. As we get into Tuesday, this particular model is reading 70, but I still think it'll be feeling okay out there. It will be Wednesday through the back half of the week, certainly into next weekend, that these dew point numbers will be quite elevated, and it will be feeling very muggy out there. So enjoy tomorrow while it will be hot again in the afternoon. Again, that humidity will stay in check. A lot of sunshine again tomorrow. South winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll start off 60s in the morning up to 94 in the afternoon. Some spots off to the west, Del Rio down to Eagle Pass. You could touch 99 or 100 degrees tomorrow. Same story as we get into Tuesday. Now, the middle of the week, when that humidity really starts to settle back in, that's also when we'll start to see some more cloud cover. And that's when the dry line in far west Texas could also fire off some storms west of San Antonio. And then the back half of the week, our weather pattern becomes a bit more unsettled, and that brings isolated showers and storms back into the forecast. We'll talk a bit more about that pattern change, and we'll also get a check of Tropical Storm Arthur coming up next half hour. Tim, Courtney?
Looks like I picked a good week to take a few days off.
Yes, you did.
I'll be by the pool.
He's always by the pool when he's off.
Yeah, usually cleaning it. We'll be right back. NASCAR is back with the green flag dropping for the first race since the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. With more on what's on tonight's Instant Replay, let's check in with our Greg Simmons.
Now we just got to get the fans back eventually, right? And tonight, some of the bizarre requirements are being revealed if baseball is allowed to come back. Coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay. The governor of Texas says gyms can reopen in the state tomorrow, including NBA practice facilities. But will the Spurs report? And why is it so important for the NBA and its players to get back on the court? And how the Spurs Give, the charitable arm of the organization, is helping first responders, families, and businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. And tonight's sports anniversaries, we feature Tim Duncan and Tony Parker, who's celebrating his 38th birthday today.
The pace car is in. Green flag. NASCAR is back.
NASCAR is back with live racing. How did they pull it off without the fans? We'll show you. The Rampage will not get a chance to say goodbye to their fans, and the American Hockey League Board of Governors voted to cancel the rest of their season just a little over 2 months. The Spurs Sports and Entertainment announced the sale of the franchise and the move to Las Vegas. And Major League Baseball has a plan for returning to play in mid-July, but wait until you hear some of the restrictions being imposed on the players, which includes not showering after a game and no dining out in restaurants on the road. A sports broadcasting pioneer has passed away. We say goodbye to those, George. And over a decade ago, this happened in Dallas during a Cowboys practice and threatened the life of one of our former interns here at KSAT 12, Jessica Hunt. We'll have that story. All that plus the sports guys who take on the possibility of a comeback by Mike Tyson at the age of 53 and at the SAFC and the Missions play this summer. Will you attend even with social distancing? Tonight you decide. Instant replay is live and is right after the night beats.
Iron Mike looks like he's in good shape.
He looks really good.
I wouldn't go up to him.
No.
Thanks, Greg. We'll be right back.
An investigation is already underway into President Trump's firing the State Department Inspector General Steve Linick on Friday night.
Democrats say Linick had been investigating Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. ABC's Andrew Dimbert with the details.
The Friday night firing of State Department Inspector General Steve Linick is now under investigation by Democrats. President Trump writing to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi he no longer had confidence in him. According to the White House, the move recommended by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who, according to Democrats, was being investigated himself. A congressional aide saying the IG was looking into whether Pompeo had misused a political appointee to perform personal tasks for himself and his wife.
The president has the right to fire any federal employee. But the fact is, if it looks like it's in retaliation for something that the IG, the Inspector General, is doing, that could be unlawful.
Peter Navarro, one of the president's top economic advisors, saying it was within the president's legal authority.
There's always going to be somebody better to replace him, somebody more loyal, not to the president necessarily, but to the Trump agenda.
Linick, an Obama-era appointee, the latest in a string of independent oversight officials removed recently. On April 3rd, the Inspector General for the intelligence community, who alerted Congress to the whistleblower complaint that triggered the impeachment investigation, dismissed.
He took a fake report and he brought it to Congress.
A few days later, the acting IG for the Department of Defense demoted after a decade of working under both Republican and Democratic administrations.
That's a presidential decision.
The president then moving to replace Christy Grimm, a top official at the Department of Health and Human Services, after she pointed out shortages and testing delays at hospitals amid the coronavirus pandemic. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
At least 11 firefighters were injured while tackling a massive fire in downtown Los Angeles last night. The LA Fire Department says 4 of the injured firefighters have been admitted to the burn ICU. Preliminary reports show the fire happened at a business warehouse which serves suppliers for the makers of butane honey oil. Something exploded while they were on scene, and that caused the fire to spread to multiple buildings.
All of a sudden, just a big explosion. It looked like a mushroom cloud of smoke. Fire just everywhere.
Within an hour, the fire department upgraded it to a major emergency. More than 230 responders were called to the scene to help.
Turning now to the coronavirus pandemic, Ford says it will provide coronavirus testing for workers who show symptoms of COVID-19. The automaker announcing the plan ahead of the reopening of some factories as early as tomorrow. Ford says it will give the test to symptomatic workers in Michigan, Kentucky, Missouri, and Illinois. It says results should be available within 24 hours, and if someone does test positive, Ford plans to ask those who interacted with that person to self-quarantine for 14 days. The company also says it will check temperatures and make employees wear masks.
Kroger will be spending $130 million to say thank you to its employees for working during the pandemic. The company announced on Friday the one-time payment to its workers is to acknowledge their dedication during this unprecedented time. As part of the thank you pay, full-time employees will receive an extra $400, while part-time associates will get half of that. That comes after the company handed out hero bonuses during the months of April and May.
Around the world tonight, Brazil now has the 4th highest number of COVID-19 cases in the world. According to the Johns Hopkins University of Medicine, Brazil now only trails the United States, Russia, and the United Kingdom with its 233,000 cases. New data released by the Brazilian government also shows the death toll now tops 15,000 after an additional 816 deaths were reported yesterday. Brazil's health minister resigned last week. He is the second health minister to resign since the outbreak began.
Now to Italy, as the country continues easing its lockdown measures, the country has seen its lowest increase in deaths in more than 10 weeks. There has been an increase of 145 deaths over the last 24 hours. That's the lowest daily increase since March 4th. The latest data shows more than 68,000 currently active COVID-19 cases across Italy.
Plenty of sunshine today. That put us in the 90s this afternoon, but now we're sitting comfortably in the mid to upper 70s across South Texas under clear skies. Light winds and humidity in check for now. Still warm off to the south. 85 in Laredo, also 85 in Del Rio. Meanwhile, up in the hill country, temperatures are falling into the low 70s. Overnight tonight, a lot of us will see clear skies. That puts our low temperatures tomorrow morning, mid to upper 60s. A few clouds off closer to the Rio Grande. Low temperature in Del Rio tomorrow, closer to 70 degrees. Everyone will see a lot of sun tomorrow afternoon, and that means it'll be a hot start to the work week. 94 the forecast high in San Antonio, some triple digits off to the southwest. We'll get you an update on Tropical Storm Arthur coming up along with your full forecast. Courtney.
Thanks, Katie. Mortgage refinancing applications are going through the roof as people take advantage of cheap loans amid the pandemic. Up next, what you should know if you're thinking of filling one out.
Never miss a story. Watch live or when you want. San Antonio's latest news and weather, streaming free on KSAT TV.
The rush to refinance is on as the economy sputters. Mortgage rates continue to fluctuate around record territory, 3 to 3.5% for a 30-year loan. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz looks at the savings and who should consider a refinance.
This is an aluminum window.
Thanks to good timing, John Andrade now has the cash to fix up his family's home. He just refinanced his 30-year mortgage.
We hit right at 3%.
At a basement low rate.
We're saving several hundred a month on our mortgage payment, and we were able to get cash back to do projects around the house or to just save.
Refinancing applications have gone through the roof, with people taking advantage of cheap loans, saving real money by locking in lower rates or chopping the length of the loan.
By lowering the term is where you see true savings. That's when you're truly building wealth in your property.
Loan officer Scott Caraselli says switching to a 10 or 15-year note can save you tens of thousands of dollars over the length of the loan. So who should consider refinancing?
I would say that if you are at an interest rate at 4.5% or higher, you should seriously consider a refinance.
Depending on how many years remain on your loan. So what can you expect if you want to refinance your home loan now? Well, the pandemic has slowed a lot of processes down, and this is no exception. The crush of applications has created a backlog, and the economy has changed.
Because of COVID-19, are a little bit more strict now. The credit score requirements have gone up considerably.
For Andrade, though, the process was fast, easy, and worth it.
It just made sense to do it.
Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
Some good information there. Next on the Nightbeat, what happens when you combine milk and soda? Well, Katie Blake will show us a fun science experience you can try, experiment.
You got this.
Somewhere. She's going to show us what it happens, all right? Oh.
Hi there, I'm KSAT meteorologist Katie Blake. This is another episode of At Home Science. And in today's activity, we're focusing on what happens when you mix two liquids that have very different properties. What interactions take place and what result does that give you? Today, we're going to use two liquids that you probably already have at home. For this experiment, you'll just need a bottle of soda and some milk. Are you helping me? I have an audience. So the first thing you're gonna do is pour out a little bit of the soda to make some room in the soda bottle. I'm gonna pour out a little bit more, and it would help if you take the label off because then you can see what's happening inside. So we've got that, and then we're gonna pour the milk into the soda bottle. Ugh. And even as I pour that in there, you can see the bubbling taking place. That means something's happening in there, some kind of reaction. Okay, it's been a few minutes, and here is what our soda and milk combo looks like. Not exactly the most enticing thing ever. So what has happened here? Well, both of these liquids, soda and milk, are chemically different. Their chemical compositions are completely different. So when you combine them, weird things are going to happen, and that's what we have here. So the biggest thing is that the acid in the soda has broken down the milk and kind of broken it up into these little lumps and clumps. Those lumps are more dense, and so they have floated to the bottom of the bottle. The kind of pure liquid, probably what's left of some of the soda, is at the top because it is less dense. So not only do we have a reaction here, we have some density separation going on in this lovely concoction. Believe it or not, this is safe to drink. I'm probably not going to try it. If you tried it at home, let us know what you think. You can take this activity or experiment and do some different things with it. Try mixing soda with other liquids. Try mixing milk with other liquids and see what happens. For more experiments, things to keep the kiddos busy at home, head to the KSAT Kids page on KSAT.com.
I like how Theo was overseeing the experiment to make sure things didn't get out of hand there.
Yeah. Did not feel like getting involved, though, did he? He was just like,
maybe he
he's
would
got
drink
it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you try? Did you try giving that to Theo?
No, he probably. I was telling Tim he's currently on a diet, so he probably would have tried it anyway. But yeah, that's that. It looks so gross. So if you've got younger kids, younger grandkids at home, and you need something to kind of distract them for a little bit, I think they'll be ugh, gross with the chunky milk there. So there you go. I do want to touch on what's going on in the tropics. Formally, hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin does not begin until June 1st, but Mother Nature really goes by no calendar, and so we've got an early jump on things here. This is Tropical Storm Arthur. This was Tropical Depression 1 yesterday, formed into a tropical storm yesterday evening. We've got maximum sustained winds at 45 miles per hour. And when you look at Arthur on satellite, center of circulation is here off the coast of the Carolinas. It's really not too impressive. And today during the day, it's kind of had a little bit of trouble, and it really hasn't strengthened much at all. And further strengthening is not expected. Movement north-northeast at 10 miles per hour. So Arthur tomorrow will be affecting the coast of North Carolina. There are tropical storm warnings posted along a good portion of the North Carolina coast. So some heavy rain there, and also some tropical storm force winds will be possible through the day tomorrow. And then Arthur will take a nice right turn out into the open Atlantic Ocean, where further weakening is expected. So we've got our name list for this hurricane season, and there goes Arthur. One bites the dust. Next up is Bertha, and here's a look at this year's names. I personally am looking forward to Dolly. I think there will be a lot of memes that come out of whatever system is attached to Dolly there, but here are the names for this year. I posted this a couple weeks ago. It's always popular on social media, people tagging their family and friends whose names appear on the list, and a lot of folks ask how they come up with these names. The National Hurricane Center, where there's actually a big list that is rotated every 6 years. The only time that names come out is if they are exceptionally damaging or deadly. So storms like Harvey, storms like Katrina, those names come out, they are retired, and they are never put back into the list circulation. So those are our names for this season. Here in Texas, things are very quiet. The low pressure system that brought us the severe weather Friday night now is well to the east. There's some active weather across the eastern portion of the country. A low pressure system here spinning up closer to the Great Lakes, so a lot of moisture all the way from up near the Great Lakes all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, but that's all east of us and will not be impacting our forecast over the next couple of days. Across Texas now, a lot of folks in the 70s. We're at 78 here in San Antonio. Still 85 in Del Rio, still at 87 out in El Paso, and the entire state will be quite toasty tomorrow afternoon. We're looking at high temperatures in San Antonio, generally in the mid-90s, but some triple digits will be possible off to our west, closer to the Midland, Odessa area. The reason for that, ridge of high pressure moving in over the central portion of the country, and over the next couple of days, we'll be kind of situated between two upper-level low pressure systems, so more active weather to our east and to our west, but we'll be quiet through the middle of the week thanks to this ridge, and things will be staying hot as well. Now, as we get into late Wednesday and Thursday, that ridge will become suppressed, and this upper level low pressure, this big dip in the jet stream off on the western portion of the U.S. will start to impact our forecast just a little bit more. We'll have some subtle little pieces of upper level energy moving in along that jet stream flow. as that ridge of high pressure gets suppressed, we'll also be allowed to see some storms fire off of the West Texas dry line beginning Wednesday afternoon and evening. So this is very similar to last week. If you remember, there were a couple of nights there where storms developed off to the west in far west Texas, and then during the overnight hours into the pre-dawn hours, a complex of storms made it to the I-35 corridor. I do think we could see a couple of instances of that as we get into the back half of this week. So that's why I've added a mention of some storms out west Wednesday night, and then some isolated shower and thunderstorm chances as we get into the back half of this week and the start of next weekend. But luckily, with a bit more cloud cover, some rain chances, that takes our temperatures out of the 90s back into the upper 80s. So little victories, and we'll always take a little bit more rain, guys.
Absolutely.
I'll take the 80s any day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be right back.
Step into the boots of a lone astronaut far from home in Deliver Us the Moon.
It's about a bleak future where we have depleted resources and the world is really, sort of breaking down. And so we send an astronaut out into space to kind of connect us to this energy source that we're getting from the moon. And the challenge as a player is to just survive.
The game tests players' puzzle and problem-solving skills and features no combat.
It's about space travel, and then you land on the moon, and then you've got to deal with connecting this base and all the pitfalls that an individual would have to deal with when faced with a big challenge like that. It's quite remarkable.
This message will be the last you'll ever get from me.
I think space is such a scary thing anyways, and I think anytime filmmakers or storytellers sort of just build on that and give us a sense of the reality and the rigors of surviving in space like this game does, you're far ahead of the curve.
Leveling up in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Tonight on Instant Replay, the movie Seabiscuit will be featured on Championship Cinema with little-known facts about the making of the movie about a championship thoroughbred racehorse that became a household name.
And the story of a two-sport star at Reagan High School who has to make up his mind which of the two will he pursue in college. Let's head over to Greg Simmons to find out what else is on Instant Replay.
I would have been happy to be good at one sport, much less two. And Mike Tyson is talking comeback at the age of 53, coming up tonight on a brand new edition of Instant Replay. Look at that. And the talk of Mike Tyson comes complete with video posted on social media, and he still has the hand speed of a 23-year-old. Is he serious? Could we see a rematch with Evander Holyfield this many years later? And will the Spurs return to their practice facility tomorrow when gyms are allowed to reopen in the state? The sports guys tackle these subjects and more tonight.
Yes, it's standing room only every time this pint-sized pony slips on a saddle. And if you can't afford the quarter, a comfy tree limb will catch you a glimpse. So what is the secret of this rags to riches story?
I have it on good authority. They feed Seabiscuit 2 pints of ice-cold beer before every race.
Championship Cinema takes us to making the movie Seabiscuit tonight. Larry and Andrew bring us little-known facts about the making of the movie and how many horses actually took to play the legendary thoroughbred. Will Carson is a two-sport star at Reagan High School, forced to make a decision on which sport he will pursue in college. Our Jessica Hahn has that story, and Andrew Seeley brings us the story of a Bernie native who helped jumpstart the volleyball program at Arcadia University that is now nationally recognized. All that plus, NASCAR is back with live racing today at Darlington with no fans in the stands. Instant Replay is live. And it's next. At least they're back racing live events.
Live sports. What a concept.
Glad to have it back. Trust me. Very glad.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. And just a reminder, Governor Greg Abbott is expected to further address the reopening of the state during a briefing tomorrow afternoon. Of course, we will bring you that broadcasted live at 2 p.m. here on KSAT 12 and KSAT.com. You can also find the most important updates from the briefing during our newscast at 5, 6, 9, and on the Nightbeat.
Finally tonight, we know the news can be hard to hear, especially right now, so we've been asking you to tell us something good.
This is my favorite. Ken Jarvis sent us this picture of a teeny tiny kitten being rescued by the Barabel Verde Volunteer Fire Department. You can see at the bottom that person fully submerged in the manhole, just holding that little kitten up like a trophy, handing it to the firefighter. Thank you so much, Ken, for sending us that sweet picture.
And we'd love for you to tell us something good. If you have a picture, video, description of a good deed, Anything that brightens your day would probably brighten others too. So send it to somethinggood@ksat.com. We may air it on our weekend Nightbeat shows or our 9 p.m. digital show Monday through Friday.
We got so many good ones. Yeah, a bunch of people with, the great things that are good deeds people are doing for each other with this pandemic going on.
We like the good news too. That is all of our time. For all of us here at KSAT 12, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in to Good Morning San Antonio for all your latest overnight news starting at 4:30.
And all new instant replay starts right now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of Instant Replay Sports. As we know, it has changed, but the good news is it is coming back slowly but surely. First, it was the UFC in Florida. Today, NASCAR returned to live racing from Darlington with only drivers and race teams, no announcers and no fans, just racing. But first, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver is looking at finishing a 70-game regular season before starting the playoffs. A controlled environment like Las Vegas or Orlando, side of Disney World. For the Spurs, that would mean 7 more regular season games, sitting 4 games out of the last spot for the Western Conference playoffs behind the Memphis Grizzlies. The reason is quite simple: television money. The money big networks such as ABC, ESPN, and TNT pay the league to broadcast their games. Gyms in Texas are allowed to open tomorrow in the state of Texas, but there is no guarantee the Spurs will open their practice facility in the wake of the coronavirus just yet, which is believed to be the first step to return to play. The league stands to lose almost $1 billion if the rest of the season is canceled. Players up to 40% of their salaries if the season does not resume. That's why there's such a push to get back on the court, even without fans, and in some cases without broadcasters, much like we're seeing with NASCAR today. David Robinson and his son David Jr. assisting with the Spurs Give Together Fund campaign to raise money to help first responders, inspire local commerce, and provide for families directly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Spurs started the fund with a $500,000 donation, along with pledge contributions from Frost Bank, the Charles Butt Foundation, New Star Energy, the Greehey Family Foundation, Red McCombs Automotive Group, the CE Group, and the 80/20 Foundation. They're helping to raise more than $1 million. The Admiral was asked about having to live without sports for the most part during the coronavirus.
People are dying without sports. I mean, I know for me, every night I turn on the TV and me and my wife are sitting back there and we're looking, we're like, no sports today. It's been very, very tough. Sports is an escape in many ways. I think for folks, it's a way to be identified with something bigger, something more community oriented, and it takes our minds off of some of the challenges we have in our lives.
Now, we have watched David Jr. grow up before our eyes since the Admiral decided to show off his son at the Hemisphere Arena. Now, after attending the University of Texas in Austin and a brief stint in New York, David Jr. has returned to the Alamo City to continue his father's legacy of helping the community, beginning first as a member of the Spurs Give board.
The Spurs team asked me to join the board, which I've been really honored, and it's been awesome to be a part of it. To be kind of adding on to some of the legacy that my father started, especially in the East Side with Carver Academy, and something I saw kind of, growing up, and to hopefully, continue that moving forward in new ways and build on it.
And if you would like to be a part of the Spurs Give Together Fund, all you have to do is go online at spursgive.org/together. Major League Baseball's plan to return to play in mid-July with an 82-game schedule also calls for the processing of 10,000 COVID-19 pandemic tests a week, requiring those players and staff not directly participating in the game to sit in the stands with social distancing, and the umpires will remove balls from play if touched by multiple players. That is being reported by The Athletic and ESPN as part of the sports manual for health and safety for baseball. It also calls for no contact between players and includes high fives or fist bumps, and first and third base coaches can have no contact with players or umpires. The plan also calls for multiple temperature checks and that players will not be allowed out of their hotels on road trips to dine out or take showers at team locker facilities. The biggest sticking point so far is the owner's request for a 50-50 revenue split with players, while the MLB Players Association wants a prorated salary for 82 games played out of the original 162.
Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
NASCAR is back in action from a coronavirus hiatus at the Darlington Raceway for the Real Heroes 400. Brad Keselowski on the pole for this one and end of stage one. An incident coming out turn two will keep Jimmy Johnson from a stage one win. William Byron with his first stage win of the 2020 season, lap 191. Keselowski holding off Alex Bowman and Martin Truex Jr. for the stage two victory. But it's Kevin Harvick with the 2020 Darlington Cup Series winner, his 50th victory, the 14th driver to do so.
The weirdest part of the day for me was getting out of the car and not hearing anybody cheering. I've been around this deal for a long time. This is not like anything I've ever experienced, but I can tell you that it's very similar to, coming back after 9/11. But that day had, just 100,000 fans in the stands, and now you have no fans. So the part of not having any fans in the infield for me, that kind of took some of that enthusiasm of the win away, just because of the fact that you weren't able to celebrate with the crowd.
Now, NASCAR will be back on Wednesday night for the Toyota 500. Then Sunday night is a Coca-Cola 600 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Buffalo Bills defensive lineman Ed Oliver has been arrested on charges of driving while intoxicated and unlawfully carrying a gun in his hometown of Houston. Oliver was arrested after a caller notified police of a vehicle swerving on State Highway 242 on Saturday while pulling a trailer with an ATV on it. The 22-year-old was the 9th overall pick in the NFL draft last year, has since been released from jail in Montgomery County. Phyllis George, who opened the door for women in sports casting, has passed away. The former Miss America joined Brent Musburger and Irv Cross on the CBS The NFL Today show back in 1975, would later return to the broadcast again in 1980. After spending 3 seasons on the network NFL pregame show, she would later marry John Brown Jr., who became the governor of Kentucky, and George, the first lady of the state. Phyllis George was originally from Denton, Texas, where she went to North Texas before finishing her college at TCU in 1970. Phyllis George, who had been battling a blood disease for some time, leaves us at the age of 70. Time now for tonight's Instant Replay poll question. If SAFC and the Missions play this summer, would you attend games even with social distancing in force? Yes or no? Vote through social media, email us, or text us at 210-218-6744. We look forward to your answer and comments tonight. We've been featuring some of our scholar athletes lately who are not able to visit our station to record their segments due to the coronavirus outbreak. Tonight, meet TMI Mary Warder. Mary is a 4-year member of the volleyball and swim team. She was the captain of the swim team this year, where she was named active All-State. She also ran varsity track in 2019. She's a 4-year member of the Corps of Cadets and is a battalion commander. She's a treasurer of the NHS, the secretary of the Student Council, and is a peer mentor. Mary maintains a 4.0 GPA, spends time between San Antonio and Cleveland, where her father is currently working. KSAT 12 Sports caught up with Mary as she prepares to attend West Point in just over a month.
I've been baking a lot. I've discovered that I apparently like to bake. I had never really done it before. Okay, it didn't get to happen in person. They did an online Zoom prom for us, actually. It was the best they could do, so it was really nice. It worked for what it was. School is my biggest thing. I just want to be on campus. I think just being on campus would make me happy. Going to the movie theaters for some reason, I was never a huge movie theater person, but all of a sudden now that we're in quarantine, I want to go to the movie theater all the time. And then probably just a big get together with my friends. I miss hugging them and being able to be close to them, because when we've done those parades, we have to stay in our cars, and it's hard being so close yet so far. I think it's just really important that they look forward to something. I mean, this isn't permanent, just like how nothing that we've gone through as a team was ever permanent. So look forward to the next sports game that you're able to go to. Look forward to the next swim meet, because it's going to come, because this isn't permanent. The only reason my mom is down here is so I could keep going to TMI. So they're living their marriage apart solely so that I can be here at the school that I love. And especially with COVID going on, she hasn't been able to travel up as much and see my dad. And I know that that must hurt her, because, that's her husband, but she doesn't show that. She supports me. She talks to me all the time about how I'm feeling about school. She does everything she can to kind of give me a sense of normalcy in my day-to-day life. I just want to thank them 1,000,001 times, because I am the luckiest daughter in the world to have them.
Thank you and congratulations, Mary. Mother's Day was last weekend, but there's never a bad time to honor Mom.
You know, I'm his biggest advocate, and you know, if you look at my Twitter page, it's full of his information. I'm sending stuff out to coaches every day across the nation just to make sure that they know who Cannon Williams is.
She's not playing any games. It's all business, even in quarantine. When we return, KSAT 12 Sports caught up with Harlan High School's quarterback Cannon Williams, who has some great support from his mom as he prepares for his senior season. The Rampage still had games to play in the AT&T Center, but that won't happen now that the AHL has canceled the rest of their season. Today is Tony Parker's birthday, but where does he rank in the top players in the NBA history? ESPN gave us their rankings. We'll let you know who made it, and it's time for some sports anniversaries for the month of May, including Tim Duncan's MVPs, the dreaded .4, and the Cowboys' 10 collapse that has a tie to the KSAT 12 Sports Department. We'll tell you what it is later this half hour. Is Iron Mike Tyson really thinking about returning to boxing? Could he face Evander Holyfield for a third time after Tyson bit off a piece of his ear almost 23 years ago? The sports guys decide. It's not every day that a high school athlete gets to be one of the few to help build up a college program, but that did happen to one Bernie native as he helped set the tone on a college men's volleyball team. Andrew Seeley has that story. We know a lot of student athletes get to play multiple sports, but truly excelling at them to get college scholarships is another level. Jessica Hunt caught up with Reagan's Will Karsten, who has excelled at both basketball and baseball. So what's next for this 6'8 standout? We'll tell you. And in this week's Championship Cinema, we review the movie Seabiscuit. Larry and Andrew will have that when Instant Replay continues live next.